Hello, this is Kamala Quali. I'm an acupuncturist and a Qigong instructor. And on this video, I'm going to show you an acupressure release that you can use to stimulate the lung meridian and open your chest. And the lungs are in charge of breathing, and we get energy from our breath. So if you want to pick up your energy, you feel like you just need a boost in your vitality, you can use this release. And you can also use this release to clear your lungs. If your lungs are congested because maybe you have a cold and you've got phlegm, or you've got some asthmatic kind of constriction going on, you can use it for that. And you can also use it if your lungs are heavy because you have an emotional heaviness. Grief is particularly associated with the lungs. It's fall right now while we're filming, and fall is associated with the lungs, especially the letting go function of the lungs. If you look outside, the leaves are falling down from the trees and they look bare and a little bit vulnerable. And so it reminds us also of those times when things have fallen away for us, when we can grieve our losses. And many times you know that grief is there. Maybe it's in the background, or maybe you just know it's there and you cry sometimes. But sometimes we don't really know that we're grieving, and instead we feel things like melancholy, or you feel a little blue, maybe feel a little depressed, or perhaps you're just more on edge. You feel a little bit more defensive or a little bit more sensitive, especially about injustice, things like that. So anytime you notice that you're off a little bit, look in the background and see if there's any sadness or grief, anything that's reminding you of feelings of loss. And you can use this release for that. And I want to recommend that before you do an acupressure release like this, or any of the other ones that you see on my site, that you do a little bit of shaking, general shaking, you do a little bit of tapping, and you do the simple neck and face release. And you'll find a video for each of those things on the site. And the reason for that is that you get the energy of your whole body moving, and that's very helpful. It helps quiet your mind and helps you get more likely get in the space where you can feel a stillness, a still presence and alertness inside, where that healing energy comes from. And we're going to use that to help empower this release. So let's begin. We're going to begin with an internal visualization and healing affirmation. So I want to invite you to close your eyes and turn your awareness inward. Follow your breath. Just take a couple of breaths. You can take a couple of breaths and just let your shoulders relax. Kind of settle in. And then notice places that are a little softer, that are a little more open, where the edges aren't so sharp. And you're going to find spaciousness there. Actually, we exist in a field of spaciousness, a dimension of spaciousness. It's in everything. But we're mostly not paying attention to that. We're paying more attention to the surface or the things that are in the space rather than the space itself. So let yourself go inside and feel a sense of spaciousness and stillness. And just breathe with that for a moment. Let yourself notice the qualities of this spaciousness and stillness. Maybe it's more peaceful. Perhaps it's more comforting. We want to feel into the stillness and the spaciousness, sensing into it until we find the place within ourselves that feels like, yes, I'm here. Here I am. It's a place of beingness. you're alert there in a different way. And it feels like you're deeper within yourself than on the surface. It feels quieter rather than busy, like when you're thinking. So breathe into that place. This place inside of us is connected to the bigger, more subtle consciousness that surrounds us, that's within us, and within all things. This is a source of healing energy. So when you feel like you're centered in this place, make an affirmation. Bring to mind the condition that you, or the situation that you want guidance on, that you want to heal. And then just make the positive affirmation that this place inside of you is already healed. The healing has already happened, and you're really grateful for that. It's a powerful and effective affirmation, a most effective affirmation. So as you sense that, with that energy, we're going to begin the release. And for the purpose of demonstrating to you where the points are, I'm going to use some dots, some circles that are like the points, and place them on myself. We're going to start out with the mother, the spleen meridian, with spleen meridian points. The spleen meridian is the mother of the lung meridian, and a mother always gives energy to its child. So we're going to perk up the spleen meridian. The spleen and stomach meridians have to do with our digestive system. And that's the other way that we get energy, is we get it from the foods that we eat. So between the foods that we eat and the air that we breathe, that's how we can feel more vital, and we have better energy for the functioning of our bodies. So I'm going to bring my foot up so that you can see the spleen meridian begins at the edge of the big toe, travels across the arch, comes up the inner leg like this, and then up into the torso. So the very first point that we're going to do is what's called a source point. A source point is the most balancing point on the meridian. And this particular source point is called an earth of earth points. Earth of earth, the spleen is in the earth element. The earth element is about form, it's about grounding, it's about what we bring into manifestation. And so we're going to start with that. It's a very grounding point. And if you feel along, you see I'm feeling along the edge of my foot, kind of where if you had a bunion, that's where it is. And it's a knuckle. You slide over that knuckle, and right as you get down at the lower part of the mountain, you could say, that's where the point is. And with acupressure, the angle that you press your finger is going to tune in the point. The point always feels like it's in a little hollow place. And often you're kind of nudging or nuggling around a bone or underneath a crevice. So we're doing that with this point too, angling it towards the knuckle. So the point is right here. And I'm going to use my thumb. You can use any finger or thumb that you want, whatever's comfortable. And I'm going to make some circles on this point. Often a point will feel sensitive, and that's a good thing, unless it's uncomfortable. You don't want it to be uncomfortable. But circling around in a clockwise manner tends to perk up the point. If the point's very tight, you might want to circle in a counterclockwise direction, which helps it to relax. Okay. The other thing that you can do with the points after you circle a little bit is you just hold the point and you breathe with it. So in this case, I feel like I send my breath to my feet and to that point, and I feel the touch with the point. And just inviting it to open and inviting myself to open to whatever that point holds for me. A point is very interesting. It takes us into ourselves, into different dimensions of the self, into the physical dimension, the mental and emotional dimension, and the spiritual dimension. Okay, the second point that we're going to do is also on the spleen meridian. So I'm tracing up along the inside of my shin bone. So you just feel up along your shin bone, and you're going to come to a place where the bone actually widens, and so there's a curve. And if you feel in there, you can feel that curve. And the point is going to be inside that curve. It's usually pretty sensitive. Okay, so mine's right here. So I'm going to place this point right here. And again, I can do the same thing. I can circle a little bit with it. Or I can just press in and hold. And actually what's really good is if you can hold these 2 points together, like this. And then you form a circuit. So holding the points and breathing. You touch in with the point when you're holding it steady. You touch into that place of tension, that place where you feel like, oh, okay, that's it. And you breathe with it a little bit and hold it steady, invite it to open, soften with it, until you feel like that sensation relaxes, and it will. It will relax, and it doesn't take that long. And after a while, you feel like, oh, okay, that's good. Maybe you hold it for a minute or so. Okay. Now, then you would do the same points on the other side. Okay? And then after that, we're going to start with a lung meridian. We're going to start out with what I call a diaphragm sweep. So the lungs, your lungs go from the top of your shoulders down to your diaphragm muscle, which is underneath your ribs. And they come out to the sides of your torso and all the way to the ribs in the back. So it's quite a big field. So we're going to start out and we're going to loosen up the diaphragm. If we get stressed, one of the first things we do is we tighten through here. Here's the solar plexus, and behind the solar plexus are your kidneys and your adrenals. And so when we're stressed and we feel a sense of adrenaline, this is a very common place that we start to tighten up. We start to tighten up and we hold our breath and we tighten our diaphragm. So this particular part of the release helps you to let that go. So you inhale and hold your breath. And then with your fingertips, you send your fingertips underneath your ribs in the front and also in the back, like that, several times while you're holding your breath. I always tell people, don't be afraid to get in there because you're massaging that muscle. And then when you need to exhale, you exhale completely through your mouth. Do it 3 times. Even now, I can feel my breathing changing. Okay, then just enjoy for a minute. The next inhale that you take is going to feel much deeper and softer, and that's what you want. And if 3 times didn't do it more until you feel that feeling like your next inhale is deeper and softer and it fills more of your lungs. Okay? And then we're going to go to the first point of the lung meridian, which is located on your chest. So you feel your collarbone, and you feel for where your collarbone meets your shoulder area, your shoulder bone. And right down from the collar, right in that little crevice there, is lung 2, and down just about a finger width, and just below that rib you feel, is lung 1. And we're pressing in and maybe a little bit towards the center line. Okay, so I'm going to put a dot on here for you. That's right about it. A little bit over. So I can tell that it's not quite right because I can feel that sensitivity is just a little bit over, a little bit better here. Okay, so now I'm going to, again, make some circles with this point. So this is the first point of the lung meridian. It's going to open up the upper part of the chest. You can do it with your opposite hand like this. Of course, the lung meridian is bilateral, so you could give yourself a little hug even and circle with this point. And this might be especially comforting if you're working with grief. sadness or some kind of emotional heaviness. Now, if your chest is heavy, it may be more relaxing to make that circle in a counterclockwise direction, but just see what feels best to you. If you do it slowly, there'll be one way that feels better than the other. Like it's just easier to do it. And the point opens it. So you just feel like you're opening and unwinding the point a few times, and then hold it. Hold it and breathe. Just letting your fingers go to that place of tension and sensation. Breathe and soften with it. Invite this place to open. Invite yourself to really allow the opening of this point and your own internal opening to whatever feelings are there, to whatever healing needs to happen. Hold and breathe for a few minutes. Well, I would say for a minute or two or even longer. You can stay on a point as long as it feels like it's an active process for you. And then you can move on to the next point. The next point that we're going to do is the third point on the lung meridian. The lung meridian travels from the point we have here, lung 1, over the arm and just on the thumb side of the bicep muscle. It comes down into the elbow crease. Again, on the thumb side, it travels all the way down the forearm to the wrist. And then it goes across your thumb, the pad of the thumb, and out the cuticle point on the thumb. So the point lung 3 is 1 hand width. This is actually, 4 finger widths are considered 3 body units, and this point is located 3 body units below your armpit. So you put your index finger where your armpit is, you hold your palm up, so you're on the inside of your arm, and where your little finger is, the point is there or slightly below it. And you want to just let yourself slide across your bicep muscle so you can feel the edge of that bicep muscle and press into this point. The angle is in towards the bicep muscle. So feel around. If you don't feel something sensitive, just let your fingers slide a little bit up or down until you feel a sensitive point. You'll feel it when you get it. Okay, there's mine right there. So I'm going to put this dot right there. This point is a very interesting point. It's one of the points that helps open the chest and the neck and the head, and it's called one of the window of the sky points. The neck is often called the chimney to the sky, and the head is the sky because we're closest to the heavens above. So these points open up our consciousness. This is one of those points. And the old imagery for this point, there's symbols of vases or other decorative metal ornaments that were used in funeral rites in ancient times. And so that's where this point is targeted. The symbolism of that is that this point can really help grief release. So again, feel into the point and relax it. Try counterclockwise circles. See how that feels. You could also, if you're just toning yourself up, you can circle clockwise. Okay, and then just hold that point. And again, especially if you're working with an emotional process. So I noticed just right there that I took a breath that was involuntary. When that happens, it means that the release is already started happening. So when you notice that, so I noticed that I'm softening, I took a breath that I didn't expect. It was just kind of automatic. And so when that happens, you want to relax a little bit more into it, relax into that spacious feeling, that sense of being, and just letting yourself be open to whatever healing, whatever information is there, and then notice what happens? Perhaps an image will come in your mind, or a train of thought, or a memory, or all of a sudden you just have a welling up of tears in your eyes. Any of those things could happen. Or perhaps nothing happens and you just relax for the moment, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, so after that point, I'm going to suggest you go to the next point. And this would be a point to use. Remember that we said that this point was the source point, or the balancing point for the spleen meridian, the earth of earth point. This point is an earth point on the lung meridian, so it connects it with its mother. It's also the source point, and it's right at the wrist crease on the inside. So this is a very balancing point. It's one of the strongest points to balance the meridian. And again, you can take your hand and press into it. Another way to stimulate a point is just to press and release. Press and release. Do that several times. You can circle with it. Circle it. Especially if you're trying to increase your vitality. Circle with it and press and release quickly. Hold it and breathe for a minute. And see how you feel. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. Now, if I really was working on picking up my energy, I would do everything the same. And when I come up to these points, I'm going to circle more quickly, or I might press and release, breathe a little bit. I do things a little more quickly. When I want it to relax, I do things a little more slowly. I put my mind into it, I put my heart into it, and that gives you better results. Now, if you really have a cold, you've got phlegm congestion, or if you still feel heavy after doing this, even if you feel just emotionally heavy, I'm going to show you two other points that you can add to this release. One is lung 7. It's called broken sequence, and it's broken sequence because rather than just being in a straight line along the meridian, it's up a little bit. And the way that you find it is that you feel for this styloid process that's right on the other side of your wrist, and this point is right below it, like at the base of the mountain. And one way to find it is that you can hook the web of your thumb together and put your index finger, lay your index finger along the side of your wrist, and then just tip your finger over till you get to the bottom of the valley. So remember I told you that points are usually in some kind of valley. This point is actually between tendons, so you might feel tenderness. And if anything, instead of up here, it's just slightly down towards the rest of the meridian, okay? So that's where I'm feeling mine, right there. This point, this is an important point. It has a lot of different uses. And so if you have a cold, stimulate this point. Press it and release it several times. Hold it and breathe with it. Circle with it in a clockwise circles. And let yourself feel what happens, okay? And then the last point that you can add, if you're especially feeling congested, trying to clear the lungs, is right at the wrist crease. This is the 5th point on the lung meridian. And again, it's going to be right in line with the meridian, and it's going to be in the elbow crease, be a sensitive point right here. This is called the water point of the lung meridian, so it just helps if there's congestion, lung congestion in there. So again, you can stimulate it. This one I feel like I want to do counterclockwise. Okay, so the meridian is bilateral. And you could do it on one side and do it on the other, but before you do it, before you change to the other side, notice how you feel. Whenever you work one side, it starts to soften, it starts to drop down, you feel like it's warmer and more alive, and you realize how you've been holding the other side. I mean, I can feel it right now when I touch in, that this side's just softer, it's warmer, it's been touched. Okay. So you may find when you do releases like this that right away you have more information about what's going on, you know what the next steps are to take. But you might find, and especially if it's an emotional thing, you might find that perhaps nothing happens right at the moment, but you may notice that you have more feelings the rest of the day, or perhaps at night some dreams come to you, or maybe you're watching a movie and you just start crying. Any of those things can be related to working on yourself like this. The body has its timing and it has its release. So go ahead with that. I'm just going to look real quickly and make sure I've told you everything that I want to tell you about this release. If you want to find out more about the significance of each of the meridians, the lung meridian has significance on the physical, mental, emotional, archetypal level within us. These are energies that span through the whole body, mind, spirit system. And if you're interested in that information about the meridians, go to my website and order my book, The Meridian Health Almanac. You can even order it right off the homepage, or you can go to the Center for Movement and Healing and go under publications. You'll also see a book there, other books for walking Qigong and for some body-mind skills. So I hope that this is helpful to you in your healing journey. Thank you.